Hello everyone, it's Attacker72 here, and for today, and wow, all I gotta say is that Nintendo really went all out with this presentation direct, focused on the upcoming Switch 2 title that will be releasing 1 month from now, being none other than Donkey Kong Bananza, the next big DK installment in the entire franchise. And really, from just this simple 15 to 16 presentation alone, it gave us a lot more information than what it initially had from its announcement back in April. It gave us a lot more information than than what Mario Kart World did when it had its presentation, because unlike Mario Kart World when it had its direct, it didn't really give us much information to go over aside from the things we already know. Bananza gave us so much more information and cool things that I feel like, if anything, makes Donkey Kong Bananza feel more hype than what it had back in April. I really feel that Donkey Kong Bananza is going to be one of the best Switch 2 games of 2025, and this is only the second Switch 2 exclusive that will be coming out after Mario Kart World, so keep that in mind. So I'm just kind of going to be going through all the positives I want to be going through for this presentation, because wow, Donkey Kong has never been so back than ever. So to really start things off, yes, as the presentation shows a lot, it has been shown and confirmed that Pauline is indeed going to be a main part of the game's story. And really, it is great to see Pauline in this one. Pauline has been making such a huge comeback since 2017, so if Donkey Kong were to ever get a new game during like the Switch 1 era, or even the Switch 2, which technically we do, Pauline would basically be an essential part to Donkey Kong's whole story. And you know what, this would have been such a cool surprise and a good reveal if it wasn't for the fact that Nintendo back in April that they accidentally showed Pauline on the official Korean website of Nintendo, where instead of the odd rock that was shown from the announcement, they showed the literal kid version of Pauline. People really thought that this was like a different character, or thought that this was indeed Pauline. Thankfully, Nintendo has confirmed that this is indeed the character that we know, but though it does kind of lead to some questions, which I will get into later on. But then we get to the main part of the story, which, I mean, all I can say is that Voidco is going to be an essential part, being that they are the main antagonists in this game, though there has been some kind of questions as to whether or not we're ever going to see the Kremlins again in this game, which all I can say is that yes, as much as I want to see King K. Rool and the Kremlins return in Donkey Kong and, you know, the franchise as a whole, I think it's best we gotta wait for a good while until Bananza is over. I mean, for all we know, some might think that they are the twist villain, but we gotta at least let these new villains have some time to shine. It's kind of rare nowadays for Donkey Kong to have villains that are actually based off the Kong family, so the Kremlins will just have to wait for a while. Gameplay wise, they absolutely made sure that this game is going to be more than just a platformer. This is a sandbox platformer with Donkey Kong punching everything around him with just his bare fist. And with the help of Pauline, it now makes the gameplay even more spectacular than I thought. First of all is that this gives me so much Mario Odyssey vibes, which makes me kind of wonder as to whether or not Bananza is indeed being developed by the same people as Odyssey. I haven't really heard much information about whether or not Bananza is going to be made by the same team as Mario Odyssey, but this really gives me so much vibes from it, just from the world itself, and judging by the world and how the game plays, it really gives me so many Mario Odyssey vibes as a whole. But overall, I really love how the gameplay has so much to offer, from just the simple punching and all the different moveset Donkey Kong has to offer. With the help of Pauline, there's even the biggest surprise of this new mechanic being Bananza powers, which is, I guess that's kind of the reason why it's called Donkey Kong Bananza. And I gotta say, they really went all out with the forms right here. Aside from the main one we saw, like called Kong Bananza, you were able to transform into both an ostrich and a zebra. And so far, we've only seen a few of these forms, but I bet you that when the game comes out, there's gonna be a lot more forms than what we had expected. And we've only seen like a few different worlds so far in Bananza, but they really are making sure that Donkey Kong is getting a lot of love than it deserves. And speaking of love, it seems that we're going to be getting a lot more of the 2D segments thanks to this new mechanic called challenge courses, which are essentially 2D side scrollers with much challenges. And I bet as the game goes on, the challenges become way more harder as it goes on, which I gotta say is really great. They even brought back the minecart segments, which hasn't been seen since Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I'm so happy about that. And then there's the fact of major character appearances such as Cranky Kong, Rambi, and even the return of Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong. That's right, for those that are worried, Diddy and Dixie Kong are indeed back in Bananza. I am so glad that the Kongs are now being fully utilized in this game, because after basically being shafted so many times during the 8 years that the Switch 1 was at its lifetime, it is refreshing to finally see these characters be in a Donkey Kong game, especially Diddy Kong, who's been shafted a lot in these past titles. Though I kind of mentioned this before, but all I'm gonna say is that it is weird to see Cranky Kong in this one, because if Pauline is in this game, but she's pretty much a young child, but yet somehow Cranky Kong is there, where would this fit in the timeline? Because if anything, Cranky Kong is the original version of Donkey Kong. The Donkey Kong we know now is obviously Donkey Kong the Third. And I mean, DK Jr. is pretty much dead at this point. He's never gonna come back. But where does this fit in the timeline? Like, how does this even fit at all? Like, I mean, the biggest simple answer is that it's Nintendo. Lore and timelines don't really matter, but this does kind of make you kind of question as to whether or not this game is either a reboot, a retcon, or just something that they just wanted to do for Donkey Kong. But all I can say is that I'm so happy to see these characters back again after being absent for so long. But then there's the fact that aside from the main gameplay, there's also the fact that you are able to play this game as a local multiplayer. Which, since Pauline is now a major part of the game, you are able to play as Pauline. So it's much more like a better, like the Cappy from Mario Odyssey. So it is great to see that for those that don't really own much of don't own the game, you can simply play as Pauline and, you know, play with a friend as well. Most notably from the fact that you can do this with Game Share, which that is a feature I haven't tried yet, but it is cool to see that for those that owns an original Nintendo Switch, you can simply play the game with Game Share, which does make this, you know, much better than what it really is. Then there's the fact that aside from that, there's also many collectibles, such as, you know, those golden bananas. There's also the ability to get skill points, and then the notable fact is that you can also collect discs, which can provide music. And one of the things I heard was none other than the DK rap from Donkey Kong 64. It is great to see that Donkey Kong rap is still being integrated into these games, and I'm really happy about that. And given the fact that now these discs are collectibles, that now makes this whole game feel more alive and much more, given a lot more replayability. I cannot wait to see what this game has to offer. Not just that, you are able to customize your characters for both Donkey Kong and Pauline as well, which is really great. As it can't be a 3D collectathon without having some type of costume mechanic in this one, so that is cool. And then there's also the fact that the mouse controls are actually going to be used in this one. I never really thought we actually get to see more of the mouse controls being used for the Switch 2, as I thought that was only going to be used for like 2 games, one of them being Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and whatever the heck Drag X Drive is. But it is actually surprising to see that the mouse controls are going to be used for this one specific mode alone, called DK Artist, which is essentially that one mode from Mario 64 where you play with Mario's head. That right there is pretty good, nice. And speaking of Mario and Bowser briefly appear in this one, so they still kind of went to the roots of Mario, which is pretty great. Then there's also the fact that yes, they did indeed updated the box art. It went from the Odd Rock, which was shown for the announcement, and changed it to Pauline, as we see right now. Feels way more fit in, and definitely is very familiar to that one leak that was shown accidentally from Nintendo's Korean website, so that is cool. And then notably from the fact Donkey Kong will also be getting a brand new amiibo specifically for Bananza with the Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo that will be able to give you the dress outfit that is fully based off from Mario Odyssey. I mean, come on, you really think they would not make this game without ever referencing some type of Odyssey thing related to Pauline? It just kind of makes sense. So I am really hoping, and I know Nintendo's going to do this, they are likely going to make this amiibo $20 to $30 just because of the quality by itself. But hey, hey, at least this dress will actually give you more discs, twice as much if you defeat an enemy. And don't worry about that. If you can't afford the Donkey Kong and Pauline amiibo at the moment, you can also use the other Donkey Kong related item amiibos that will come alongside it, such as the K. Rool Smash Bros. Amiibo and the wristbands from Super Nintendo World. You can just use the other amiibos if that's the case. But otherwise, those are all the things I want to say about Donkey Kong Bonanza. I cannot fathom how much hype this game already has just from this one presentation alone. It gave us a lot more information, and to really see Donkey Kong finally get the respect he deserves and a new game after basically getting nothing after over a decade, not including any ports or remakes at all. Seeing a new Donkey Kong game finally thrive and to see Nintendo fully support the character after so long is really refreshing. But that's all I really want to say about Donkey Kong Bonanza and its direct presentation alone. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know your thoughts and opinions down below of what you think of this Donkey Kong Bonanza presentation. Do you think this presentation convinced you to buy DK Bonanza next month? I already pre-ordered mine, but this game or this presentation alone convinced me that my pre-order is totally going to be worth it. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and so with that, leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more videos, follow my Twitter, and I'll see you guys next time. And remember this, once a legend, always a legend.